do this. This is going to affect tens of millions of Americans, and they're in a situation where they've said, well, you actually can test every week to kind of opt out of this. But they say that the employer doesn't have to pay for it. So you're in a situation where an employee who may not be making that much money, are they going to have to be responsible for doing this? Because if an employer isn't going to pick up the tab, functionally, that is the same as saying that the individual's not going to no longer have their job.
Well, that's what Governor Ron DeSantis said today in Tampa after announcing a lawsuit against the Biden administration's COVID vaccine or testing mandate. This war of words comes on the heels of the White House unveiling new rules requiring millions of unvaccinated American workers to get the COVID vaccine or get tested on a regular basis.
The governor says the option to test regularly for people who refuse to get vaccinated is not good enough because employers are not required to pay for that testing. He did not mention that the state and county still provide free testing. CBS 4's Skyler Henry joins us live from Capitol Hill.
And Skyler, tell us about today's legal action.
Lauren and Elliot, good evening to you. Well, the governor joining a long list of states that are doing the same thing, pushing back against these federal vaccine mandates in one way or another, saying that it's going to be settled in a courtroom. But the president and the administration moving forward, saying that January 4th will be the day that most federal employees and many workers will have to be fully vaccinated.
On the second full day that kids can get COVID vaccine shots, top public health officials were grilled about the ongoing response to the pandemic.
Vaccination, as we have seen, decreases your risk of infection by 6-fold, decreases your risk of hospitalization and death by 10-fold.
Republican lawmakers repeatedly pressed the witnesses about vaccine mandates versus natural immunity.
Are you so convinced that the data is so compelling that natural immunity isn't as good as vaccination?
If we don't know that natural immunity confers protection against future infection, it's because we've decided not to look.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, again clashed with Republican Senator Rand Paul over whether the virus leaked from a lab in China.
You won't admit that it's dangerous, and for that lack of judgment, I think it's time that you resign.
He is egregiously incorrect in what he says.
The contentious hearing came on the same day the White House unveiled new rules, which will require millions of unvaccinated working Americans to get the shot.
All federal employees, federal contractors, and healthcare workers at facilities receiving Medicare or Medicaid have until January 4th to be fully vaccinated. People who work at businesses with more than 100 employees must also be vaccinated by January 4th or test weekly and wear a mask at work.
Vaccine requirements are working.
It's a hard sale to tell people who have had COVID that they're now under a mandate.
More than 24 states have already announced plans for lawsuits to block the mandates from taking effect.
Skyler, if Florida special session does indeed pass some sort of a bill exempting Florida employees, is the president expected to take action?
Well, if he does, it'll certainly be interesting to see how this all shakes out. The president was asked about what he feels as though these Republican governors have been doing these past few weeks, saying that they were going to take legal action here. He said, bring it on. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki a few weeks ago doubled down on that sentiment, essentially saying that what the administration is doing in terms of these mandates supersedes some of these state executive orders, if you will, and most of these things are in her words, performative as opposed to substantial. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out if and when these things actually get inside of a courtroom.
And we will be watching every step of the way if it does. Skyler Henry live for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you.